The job offer from Veridatum Archives felt like a lifeline. Fully remote, flexible hours, and pay that was more than generous for what amounted to glorified data entry. The task was simple: transcribing digitized municipal records from a defunct township in upstate New York called Graves Hollow. The town had been officially dissolved in the 1950s, its lands absorbed by neighboring counties after the reservoir project flooded the valley. My job was to preserve its history, one scanned document at a time. The first few weeks were a comforting blur of routine. I'd wake up, make coffee, and log into the secure portal. My screen would fill with the sepia tones of old paper. Land grants from the 1880s, council meeting minutes, brittle tax ledgers. The script was often elegant, the language formal. I typed, my fingers clicking a steady rhythm against the silence of my small apartment. It was peaceful, almost meditative. I was a digital ghost, sifting through the remains of a town that no longer existed. The shift was subtle at first. I was assigned a new batch of files, this time from the Graves Hollow Sheriff's Department, dated between 1928 and 1934. They were mostly incident reports, livestock disputes, reports of vagrancy, a few minor thefts. But the names started to become familiar. A farmer, Jedediah Croft, was a frequent complainant. A woman named Beatrice Calloway reported a peeping Tom on 3 separate occasions. And then there was Silas. His name appeared only once in the initial batch, in a complaint about him damming a creek on his property. Silas Blackwood. I started the next batch, and the tone of the documents grew darker. These were internal memos, case notes, and witness statements. I found a report about a missing girl, 8-year-old Elara Vance. The official file was thin, just a few pages noting the search efforts, which were called off after 3 days of fruitless searching in the dense woods surrounding the hollow. But tucked into the digital bundle was a separate, unofficial-looking scan. It was a deputy's handwritten notes. He mentioned Silas Blackwood. He'd seen Blackwood near the Vance property the day Elara disappeared. The deputy noted that Sheriff Albright had dismissed his concerns, stating Blackwood was a harmless eccentric. I felt a prickle of unease. The silence in my apartment suddenly felt heavier. I found myself glancing over my shoulder, though I knew I was alone. I kept transcribing. More files on Silas Blackwood appeared. Reports from neighbors about strange chanting coming from his property at night. A complaint that he was buying up lye and other chemicals in unusually large quantities. A request he submitted to the town council to dig a new well on his land, specifying a depth that seemed absurdly, impossibly deep. Each request was approved without comment. The final document in the batch was a single heavily redacted page. It looked like a portion of a journal, the handwriting jagged and panicked. Most of the text was blacked out, but a few phrases had escaped the censor's pen. I leaned closer to my monitor, my breath fogging the cool glass. Not harmless. The others from the well. What he called down from the stars. Forgive me, Elara. My heart hammered against my ribs. I scrolled back through the file list, but that was it. The batch was complete. I closed the portal and pushed my chair back. The sun had set, and my apartment was cast in the deep blue of twilight. As my monitor faded to black, its surface became a dark mirror, and for a split second, I saw it. A reflection, not mine. A tall, gaunt figure standing just behind my chair, its form a wavering silhouette in the dying light of the screen. I spun around, a cry catching in my throat. There was nothing there, just the empty air and the oppressive listening silence of my apartment. Sleep offered no escape. I dreamt of sepia-toned forests and the faint, terrified weeping of a little girl. I woke up with my heart pounding, the image of the silhouette in my monitor seared into my mind. I told myself it was a trick of the light, a phantom of an overtired brain. But the fear felt real, a cold knot in my stomach. I considered quitting, just sending a polite email to Veridatum and washing my hands of Graves Hollow and its secrets. But the money was too good, and a deeper, more morbid curiosity had taken root. I had to know what happened. I logged back into the portal. A new batch of files was waiting. The label was different. Graves Hollow Parochial School and Church Records, 1935 to 1940. My hands hesitated over the keyboard. I took a deep breath and opened the first file. It was a list of baptismal records. I transcribed the names, the dates, the godparents. Then came school attendance logs. I saw Elara Vance's name marked present every day until October 12th, 1933. After that, the line was empty. Seeing her name in this mundane context, a life so suddenly interrupted, felt more chilling than any redacted journal entry. The next set of documents were confessions, not to the police, but to Father Michael, the parish priest. They were written on church letterhead, never sent, found in a box in the rectory attic decades later. Sheriff Albright's confession came first. He wrote of his regret, of the terrible dreams that plagued him. He admitted to taking money from Silas Blackwood for years, to looking the other way, to dismissing the concerns of his own deputies. He wrote, "Silas said it was a necessary sacrifice, for the town, for the harvest." I told myself he was mad, but the crops that year were the best we'd ever seen. Jedediah Croft, the farmer who was always complaining, had a confession too. He admitted to helping Blackwood. Not with Elara, he swore, but with the others, the vagrants, the travelers who no one would miss. They'd lure them back to Blackwood's property. He described the well. He said it wasn't for water. He said the things Blackwood lowered into it were never meant to come back up. And the things he sometimes pulled up, they weren't the same. My apartment grew cold. I checked the thermostat. It was fine. The chill was coming from within me. I was shaking. I read on, compelled by a horror that felt both ancient and immediate. The final file was a letter from Father Michael to his bishop, a desperate plea for help that was apparently never answered. He described a change in his congregation, a quiet, spreading madness. He said the people of Graves Hollow had started leaving offerings at the edge of the Blackwood property. Small animal bones, bundles of grain, and then locks of their own hair. He wrote that Silas Blackwood wasn't a man anymore, but a conduit. He was preparing for something he called the summoning. The priest believed the reservoir project, the impending flood that would wipe the town from the map, was not a civic project, but an act of God, a baptism to cleanse the valley of its unholy stain. I finished transcribing the last word and slammed my laptop shut. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, my legs unsteady, and went to the window. The streetlights cast long, distorted shadows on the pavement below. Everything looked normal. A car passed by. A man walked his dog. But I felt a profound sense of dislocation, as if I were looking at a world I no longer belonged to. The history I had been transcribing didn't feel distant. It felt alive, present. That's when I heard it. A sound from the other room. A soft, wet scraping, like something heavy being dragged from a deep, dark place.